As it relates to social media, football, opportunities in life, and in terms of what the limitations are on yourself, and I had a preamble joke, where do you think aspirations can carry you versus application, and how much of your application has carried you to your aspirations, would you say? Like, how much hard work have you put in versus your natural talent, and how much of your natural talent has carried you through in moments where you had to recognize what you were good at to be able to carry you through certain moments, but other moments you knew you had to grind and get through certain moments?
You are asking me how much is any one thing and what's in its talent is an ingredient, is what I would say to you. There's an adage that goes around about how talent is distributed evenly, but opportunity is not. And I am very aware that I was able to make the steps I did in the creative arts because after I graduated, I went back home to live with my parents, and my parents lived in London. If, say, my parents lived in Blackburn, then when that opportunity came about to intern for FHM, I would have had to spend a lot more money traveling down to London to stay in a hotel, going back and forth. I did, hopefully, very often I give the dates of when I graduated and the dates of when I did things, because one, I want everyone to understand how old I am, and two, the internet was a very different place in those times, right? Going on YouTube in 2013 is a completely different experience from going on YouTube in 2022. And going into an internship in 2013 should hopefully, for the love of God, be very different to doing an internship in 2022. I did a lot of unpaid internships when I graduated because I could afford to, because I lived at home. I didn't have to think about paying rent. I know there are a lot of people who, when they graduated in 2012 and 2013, probably had more talent than I did, probably had greater application than I did, probably had not only the same curiosity level as me, but also proofread their own articles better than me, had a great understanding of grammar and marketing, had a wider and deeper knowledge of things I was interested in, but also didn't live in London and also couldn't afford that internship. So that made things difficult for them. I also know that my interest in certain things meant I have perhaps certain advantages over certain people in the office, right? I am a tall, sporty gentleman who knows a lot about, quote unquote, the male topics. And when I had a gap in my information, I'd often go home and research that topic because the boss keeps dropping Alan Partridge references. I don't know what Alan Partridge is. I'm going to go home and watch Alan Partridge. There was a point in time where I'd often go home and I'd stop by H&V, the 3 DVDs for £10, and I'd buy the DVDs people in the room were talking about so I could come back and continue those conversations. So that is a combination of soft skill, that's my natural curiosity coming together with just something that really shouldn't really have a bearing on whether I get a job or not, which is how do you interact in an office space. And now in 2022, when most of us are working from home, do you need that? Do you need the ability to go home and to switch on and watch an episode of Sexy Beast or to watch something else to talk to a boss? And that might get you a better recommendation as that way. I'd say, again, things aren't binary. They place you on a spectrum. The way I often describe it is you are born somewhere on a spectrum, and then you are often given the ability to travel up and down a certain section of that spectrum. And then hopefully, if you want to move up that slightly further, opportunities can be given to you by people higher up. So one thing I'm talking to as a black person working full-time in the media space, there's not that many. 0.2 journalists in the United Kingdom are black, which is quite concerning considering.
Yeah, I might have had a question relating to that too, but again, in the ham-fisted way, I was worried about broaching it because of the anecdote that I had for it. So you'll forgive me for not stumbling into that and making a fool of myself in that situation. 0.2% of journalists in the United Kingdom are black. Now, proportionally based on your population, that might be representation. That might be proportional representation in terms of population. But if you look at where are the publishing places placed in the United Kingdom, London, which is 30% not white, then you would expect more
black journalists where they're based. And if you look into places where journalists are placed, and what beats they have, and whether they work full time or not, and where are they working in front of the camera or behind camera, or other pathways into that, those things are of interest to me. So one thing I'm really, I'm constantly doing, I'm 31 now, is going, if you're a black student, if you are, the 21-year-old who's just graduated and goes, I want to be a journalist, I need to go contact someone and possibly get that internship, I will now try and be that person for you. I will now try and be the person who can mentor you, or go, you sent me the wrong CV, you actually want to be a nature documentarian. And that is how it works. It's the thing of, have you ever read Moneyball or Freakonomics?
I haven't read them, but I'm familiar with Moneyball. Yeah.
So one of the big topics in Freakonomics is, what's the easiest way to become a baseball player? And they say it's to be the son of a baseball player.
Right. Okay.
Because they say, one, you might have the natural aptitude that you might have inherited from your parent, but more importantly, if you are the child of a baseball player, scouts are going to be looking at you from day one. Because hey, I know your dad. Are you anywhere near as good as your dad? Two, if your parent was a baseball player, they tend to have earned quite a bit of money. So if at any point in time in your early childhood you've shown aptitude at baseball, they can go, here you go, I'm going to push you towards baseball and get you the best coaches and put you on the best team, instead of you being not able to access baseball tools and whatnot. And that is how I think a lot about these things, in that I understand I was given a certain amount of tools and given a certain amount of attributes at an early age, and then I had to practice at home and work on those things. I had to maximize certain things, I had to tone down certain things, but also I had to make sure I was in the right position at the right time. I've got more jobs from ridiculous, I met a person in a room and was introduced to them, than I have from CVs. And that makes me happy and sad, because I remember all the times where you'd spend 30 or 40 CVs in a week and not get anything. And my mum went, you seem really sad, here's 10 quid, go get yourself a pizza to cheer yourself up on. And now when I meet the next generation that are doing that and sending loads of CVs and they're really sad, I go, here's 10 quid, go get yourself a pizza. It's really hard. It takes hard work. It takes hard work. It takes a bit of luck. It takes momentum and direction. And sometimes momentum is more important than direction. You can go out there and graduate and think you're going to one day work at Game Master magazine and think that you actually don't ever want to write about football because you don't believe the level of discourse of football conversation is very interesting. And at some point, someone will find you the right opportunity to write about football in the way you want to write about it. You never know.